Chapter 17. What kind of coffin would you like? I strung the medallion on a train along with the other charms when the gnomes gave us a box full of, what else? Bottles of apple juice. Finally, it was time to leave, but Fluttercow pulled me aside. Sir Knight, would you mind if I stayed here? She whispered. This place is so moving. It's extra colorful, just like me. What would I say? Of course, I agreed. We'll miss you, I told the butterfly cow. But thank you for all your help. And don't worry about me. I'll still have Chatterclaws. Just then, the chatterphone rang. The crab rushed to pick up. Hello, this is Chatterclaws. Aunt Sandy Claus, is that you? How are the crablings? What? You're in danger? Why, the wizard of the Black Pearl, he's dreaming Scorpion Fish Bay. But there's where we live, huh? The wizards wants revenge because I'm helping the knight? Of course. Don't worry. I'll be right there. Crab owner! Chatterclaws hung up looking frantic. I'm so sorry, Sir Knight. The whatchamacallit. There's not a moment to lose. Have you ever tried to talk to a stressed out crab? Let me just say, it's not easy. Chatterclaws' pincers were flying all over the place. It was downright dangerous. Eventually, he managed to calm down enough to explain the situation. It seemed that the Wizard of the Black Pearl had built a dam and was draining the bay where Chatterclaw's family lived. I must go immediately to Aunt Sandy Claus and her 113 crablings. I'll rejoin you when I can. The crab finished. I told Chatterclaws not to worry. Family should always come first, and even though I was dying to ask how Aunt Sandy Claus kept track of 113 crablings, it didn't seem like the right time. Still, I did have one question. How do I get to the towering peaks? I asked. I'll tell you, Farbeard offered. The towering peaks are the highest mountains in the kingdom of fantasy. The guardian of the fourth charm is the only one who lives there. His name is Blizzard, and he's a ferocious white wolf who loves fresh meat. You mean mouse meat? I stammered. Chatterclaws interrupted. I hate to tell you, Knight, but he loves it. In fact, it's said that the wolf has been waiting centuries for one particular mouse. Hey, maybe it's you. Better be careful, or it might be his breakfast, or lunch, or dinner, or snack, or... Thanks, I get it, I choked. Any life-saving advice from me? The crab sighed. Let's see, you're going to a deserted place where the only inhabitant is a ferocious who loves food. I say good luck. Then he added, but I have a cousin who owns a funeral home, and I'll make sure he takes care of you if you lose your fur on the towering peaks. What kind of coffin do you want? Do you prefer oyster model lined with red velvet, or the sardine theme model? And for your headstone, do you want one shaped like a tuna or like an octopus? By this time, I was shaking so hard I couldn't even squeak. Don't worry, the crab continued. All will go well. Maybe you'll probably survive, and we'll see each other soon. Well, who knows? In any case, break a leg. I squealed. Break a leg? After I said goodbye to everyone, I took off. I thought I heard the crab shout something about watching out for the white spies, but I wasn't really listening. No, I was too busy feeling sorry for myself. Rats! I was missing my new friends already, and I had only taken a few steps. Chapter 18. We are the white spies. I walked for days and days as my heart grew heavier and heavier. I was lonesome for my friend Chatterclaws. I admitted I missed his chattering and even his pinches. Finally, I reached the steep, icy path that led to the base of the towering peaks. The climb was very difficult. I slipped on the ice with every step, while the howling wind pushed me around this way and that as if I were a yarn doll. I was glad that the red-nosed gnome had given me that apple juice along with some snack bars to keep up my strength. When I reached the middle of my climb, I heard tiny voices shouting, "We are the white spies, sent by the wizard of the Black Pearl. How dare you climb our mountain?" Then I heard a wicked cackle and saw what looked like an avalanche of snow crashing towards me. It was made of thousands of snowballs with evil little eyes. I barely had time to yell, "Help!" But there was no one to help me. Within minutes, I was overcome by the snow hurtling down the mountain. I ended up completely buried in snow, frozen fatal. Would I ever escape from this prison of snow? I couldn't even tell which way was up and which was down. I tried to make some space, digging out a nook to move around in. Still, time was running out. I needed air. I was so scared tears began to roll down my forehead. Drip, drip, drip. Wait, down my forehead? It was then that I realized that I was stuck in the snow upside down. Now, I knew which direction I needed to dig. I flipped over and started to dig as quickly as possible. But it wasn't easy. My paws were freezing and my teeth were chattering. Brr. Oh, how I wished there was a way to warm up. If Chatterclaws were with me, he would have made me a nice cup of hot cheese, or he would have had a shovel to dig with. I began to feel sleepy. Could I catch a tiny little rat nap? No! A voice inside me screamed. If you asleep, you'll end up like a frozen mouseicle. With a final burst of energy, I dug until at last I burst from the snow. I did it! Yes, I did it! I squeaked. I wish I could say I celebrated with a delicious 4-cheese pizza, but instead, disaster struck. First, I hit an evil cackle. Then, an enormous piece of ice struck me on the head. Then I fell off a cliff. I saved myself by hanging on to the edge of the cliff by only my paw nail. Squeak! The next thing that happened was totally unbelievable. Somehow, I managed to pull myself up to safety. Don't ask me how I did it. Maybe I was so afraid of becoming a scrambled mouse, I gained Geronimo strength. Chapter 19. Nice Wolfie. I continued my journey with trembling paws, following the icy path that glittered in the moonlight. The wind continued to slow me down and freeze my whiskers and my tail. After one last difficult step, I found myself at the top of an icy peak. I sat down to catch my breath. Then suddenly a large, dark shape with four legs, small ears, and two golden eyes. Oh, it was a wolf. I ignored my whiskers and hair. Something told me it wasn't one of Santa Claus's reindeer welcoming me to the neighborhood. A minute later, the shape began to growl. I wanted to run, but my paws were frozen to the spot. Then the creature took a step forward, and I saw that it was an enormous wolf with pure white fur. Suddenly, I understood. This had to be Blizzard, the white wolf. Well, I certainly could see where he got his name. His white fur blended right into the snow. I looked around to see if there were any escape, and that's when I spotted another horrifying sight. Piles and piles of bones. Holy cheddar chunks! What if these were the skeletons of all the adventurers who came before me looking for the fourth enchanted charm? I looked up to find the wolf staring at me like I was a juicy steak at Cinderfir's sizzling steakhouse. He gnashed his sharp teeth. Right then, I remembered the crab's words. He's been waiting centuries for a particular mouse. Was it true? Was I that mouse? The wolf took a step forward, still growling, ears laid back, fur standing on end, looking ready to attack. Nice, Wolfie, I squeaked. Suddenly, I noticed something. The wolf's right paw was bleeding, leaving prints in the snow. It must have been hurt because he was placing it gingerly on the ground. Then I saw that there was a large thorn in it. Forgetting that he was probably about to eat me, I said, "Would you like me to pull out that thorn?" The wolf's eye narrowed suspiciously, as if trying to figure out my real intentions. I took a step forward, paws open wide, to show that I wasn't armed and that I came in peace. Then I took his paw and delicately started taking out the thorn. The paw was swollen, and it must have hurt a lot, because the wolf growled loudly. But with one firm tug, I pulled out the thorn and showed it to him. "See, this thorn was hurting you, but now it's all over," I told him. "Your paw will heal quickly." I poured water from my canteen over the wound to clean it, and spread some mystical herb salve that Firebeard had given me on it. Finally, I ripped a strip of seaweed from my cape and carefully used it to bandage his paw. I must say, the wolf was an excellent patient, and when I finished tending to him, he thanked me with a slurpy lick. I knew then that his ferocious teeth gnashing was just an act. Chapter 20. Go now. Even though the wolf was now my friend, I still had a problem. I had to find the fourth charm. I stood waiting for a sign, a signal, a text message. As if in response to my thoughts, the white wolf turned to the moon and howled. I raised my snout, and in the dark sky, I saw millions of stars. All of a sudden, one star shone brighter than the others. Then I heard a voice say, "That star is the fourth charm. You must go and capture it." I looked around, confused, because there was no one else there, only the wolf. It was then that I realized it was the white wolf who was speaking, but his voice had been only in my head. "How can I get to that star?" I thought. "Don't worry, I'll help you," I heard in my head. I grinned. He could hear my thoughts. I wondered if I could learn how to read minds when I got back home. Sometimes squeaking can be so overrated. I was still thinking about reading minds when the wolf took a deep breath and blew hard into the freezing night air. Like magic, his breath froze into a shining ice bridge, which led all the way up to the star. The wolf bowed so that I could jump on his back. Then he began to race along the icy bridge up into the night sky. I tried not to look at the dizzying view. Did I mention I'm afraid of heights and of slipping on the ice, spiders, snakes, elevators, and especially the dark? And on all sides of this shining bridge was endless dark. How terrifying! Still, I tried to be strong. After all, I remembered. In order to get the fourth charm, I had to prove my courage. After about 1 billion years racing along the icy bridge, well, okay, it wasn't quite that long, we finally reached the bright, shining star. The wolf nudged me to reach for it, and so I did. The star was small and sparkled with the light of 1,000 diamonds. The wolf wagged his tail with satisfaction. Then I heard his voice in my head. For 1,000 years I've been the guardian of the diamond star, the fourth enchanted charm. And for 1,000 years I've been waiting for one special mouse, a mouse who is strong, brave, and courageous. Now that you have reached me, I can pass the precious diamond star on to you and finally return to my tribe, the tribe of the white wolves. I grinned. Who would have guessed I, Geronimo Stilton, or Sir Geronimo of Stilton, could be strong, brave, and courageous? I puffed up my chest and suddenly felt a new sense of daring and confidence. Unfortunately, the feeling didn't last long. A moment later, the wolf explained. The next part of my mission. You must retrieve the crystal feather found on the crystal planet. Many heroes have tried to reach it, but no one has ever succeeded or returned, he said, as my whiskers trembled in fear, my mind filled with questions and worried. How would I get to the crystal planet? How would I find the crystal feather? Why wouldn't these adventures take place somewhere fun, like a beach resort or a cheese factory? Don't worry, I will help you, Blizzard continued soothingly. Oops, I had forgotten he was reading my mind. Oops, how humiliating. The next thing I knew, I was sitting on the wolf's back. Then he launched into a gallop across the icy bridge until we were right next to a comet with a long, shining tail. Quickly, Sir Knight, grab hold of that comet. You can do it, the wolf told me. I was about to explain to the wolf about my fear of flying, but before I knew what was happening, he threw me towards the comet. What could I do? I grabbed on for dear life and shot off into the darkness. Oh, how do I get myself into these scary situations? The comet flew at supersonic speeds through the starry sky. Each time it passed a meteorite, I let out a squeal of terror. Headlines flashed in my mind. Stilton, lost in space. Meteorite melts mouse. Eventually, the meteorites faded away, and there were fewer stars. I started to feel peaceful in the silent sky. We continued on through the dark night until I saw a tiny planet shining up ahead, getting closer and closer.